B2B lead generation, outsourcing versus in-house. Why this decision matters more than ever. B2B lead generation is harder to run on intuition than it used to be. Buying committees are bigger, inboxes are noisier, and data privacy constraints keep changing. Yet most leadership teams still expect pipeline growth every quarter. That mismatch is why outsourcing versus in-house has become a strategic resourcing decision, not a tactical one. At SalesHive, we see teams wrestle with the same core question. Do you build an internal SDR function from scratch, hire SDRs and accept the fixed costs, or lean on sales outsourcing to move faster and stay flexible? The right answer depends on your deal complexity, internal leadership bandwidth, and how quickly you need meetings to hit the calendar. In this guide, we'll break down the real economics, the operational trade-offs, and the execution details that actually determine ROI. We'll also show how modern teams are increasingly combining an in-house core with an outsourced sales team to get speed without giving up control. The true economics, fully loaded cost, and time to value. If you're comparing a vendor retainer to an SDR's base salary, you're almost guaranteed to choose the wrong model. A realistic in-house model includes salary, benefits, recruiting, tech stack, management time, enablement, and the fact that you pay for output months before you get it. In 2025, the fully loaded cost of one in-house SDR is commonly $110,000 to $150,000 per year when you account for those hidden inputs. You also need to model ramp time as a real cash expense, not a footnote. The average SDR takes about 3.2 months to reach full productivity, which means your cost per meeting in the early quarters will look dramatically worse than your spreadsheet predicted. And if you're buying leads through paid channels, average B2B cost per lead can range from $91 to $982 by industry, with an overall average around $198. So efficiency at the top of funnel quickly becomes a margin issue. To make this decision cleanly, we recommend a simple normalization: cost per sales accepted meeting and cost per opportunity. Leads are easy to inflate. Held qualified meetings are not. When both models are held to the same meeting quality bar, the economics become much easier to compare. What you gain and pay for with an in-house SDR team. In-house teams win when nuance matters. If your product is technical, regulated, or heavily customized, internal SDRs can absorb product context faster, collaborate closely with AEs, and develop the kind of market ear you only get when reps sit inside the business. That feedback loop can improve qualification, tighten messaging, and reduce downstream churn from misset expectations. The trade-off is that control comes with fixed costs and operational overhead. A single SDR can cost $110,000 to $150,000 fully loaded, and you'll still need consistent coaching, QA, and process management to keep output stable. Because the typical ramp is 3.2 months, capacity planning must assume you're funding several months of learning before pipeline becomes dependable. In-house is usually the best fit when you already have a proven ICP and messaging, experienced SDR leadership, and a predictable hiring engine. If you're still experimenting with who to target and what to say, you're effectively paying full-time wages to run tests, and that's where many teams overpay for learning they could validate faster through a specialist SDR agency. What modern outsourcing looks like and when it wins. Outsourcing isn't smile and dial anymore when you choose the right partner. A modern outbound sales agency typically combines list-building services, cold email agency execution, and B2B cold calling services into one coordinated motion, with reporting that ties activity to meetings, show rate, and opportunity creation. Practically, you're buying a repeatable system: people, process, and tooling that already exist. The cost advantage is often real and material. Benchmarks for enterprise programs commonly show 40 to 60% savings when you outsource instead of building the equivalent in-house SDR capacity, and a small internal team, 2 SDRs plus a manager, is often estimated at $300 to $350K annually versus $120 to $150K for an outsourced program delivering similar output. That's why so many teams treat sales outsourcing as a speed and focus decision as much as a budget decision. Outsourcing can also improve ROI when it's managed correctly. Some research reports up to 43% higher ROI for businesses using outsourced lead generation compared with purely in-house approaches, largely because specialists compress ramp time and reduce experimentation costs. The key is to outsource execution while keeping ICP ownership, qualification rules, and brand guardrails in-house. Otherwise, even the best cold calling services will drift into generic outreach. The best model isn't in-house or outsourced. It's owning strategy internally while scaling execution with the resource that can produce qualified meetings fastest at the lowest true cost. Control where it counts, scale where it pays. For many B2B teams, hybrid is the practical middle ground. Data suggests 59% of companies outsource at least some lead generation, which signals that some in-house plus some outsourced has become the default operating model rather than an edge case. The reason is simple. You can keep strategic accounts, positioning, and AE alignment internal while scaling top-of-funnel volume through an outsourced SDR engine. Hybrid works best when roles are clearly separated by complexity and risk. We often see in-house reps own the most technical segments, regulated verticals, or expansion, late-stage plays where tight context matters, while an outsourced sales team handles high-volume prospecting, list building, cold email, and cold callers running consistent daily activity. This channel-by-channel approach avoids the common mistake of picking one blanket model for every motion. Operationally, you should run external SDRs like an extension of your team, not like a black box vendor. Give them CRM access, align on qualification criteria, and hold weekly reviews that include AE feedback on meeting quality. When both sides share one dashboard and one definition of sales accepted, the hybrid model stays accountable without slowing down. That quietly destroys ROI. The most expensive mistake is undercounting in-house cost. Teams compare outsourced pricing to an SDR's base salary and miss the fully loaded reality: tools, management time, recruiting fees, and ramp. If you don't model those costs, you'll underestimate your true cost per meeting and end up scaling a model that looks cheap on paper but is costly in pipeline terms. The second mistake is treating an SDR agency like a turnkey appointment-setting switch. When outsourced reps aren't onboarded like real hires, product context, ICP clarity, messaging pillars, and compliance guardrails, they default to broad targeting and generic copy. That can damage brand perception and create a false conclusion that outsourcing doesn't work, when the real issue is missing enablement and feedback loops. Finally, many teams judge the model on an unrealistic timeline. Whether you hire internally or outsource, you need a ramp window to test data, refine positioning, and stabilize performance. The difference is that outsourcing can reduce recruiting delay and shift fixed costs into a more flexible structure. Plan a 60 to 90-day evaluation with milestone checkpoints tied to meeting quality, not a 30-day trial that rewards shortcuts. KPIs that map to revenue. If you want one metric that keeps everyone honest, use cost per sales accepted meeting, then cost per opportunity. This is especially important in industries where cost per lead is volatile, often $91 to $982, and can be inflated by low-intent form fills. A lead that never becomes a real conversation is just noise. Meetings that convert to pipeline are what your CFO can measure. From there, Build a shared scoreboard that both internal reps and your outsourced team can avoid. List quality, deliverability, bounce rate, connection and reply rates by channel, meetings booked, show rate, and conversion to SQL opportunity. When these numbers live in the same CRM view, you prevent blame shifting and you can diagnose the real bottleneck: targeting, messaging, channel mix, or qualification. Treat optimization like a weekly operating rhythm, not a quarterly post-mortem. Review a sample of calls and email threads. Collect AE notes on meeting quality, and turn that into concrete changes in sequences, data filters, and talk tracks. This is where a strong cold calling agency or outbound sales agency separates itself. Iteration speed and process discipline, not just activity volume. Decide with a 90-day model, not a gut feel. The fastest way to choose correctly is to run a side-by-side model and a controlled pilot. Build an in-house forecast that includes fully loaded SDR cost, realistic ramp around 3.2 months, expected turnover risk, and the tools you'll need to run modern outbound. Then compare that to 2 or 3 real vendor options, normalized to cost per meeting and cost per opportunity. If you're leaning toward hybrid, start with clear ownership. Your team owns ICP, qualification rules, and messaging pillars. The execution team, internal or outsourced, owns consistent activity and rapid iteration. In practice, that means written definitions, shared dashboards, and an enablement plan that covers cold email, B2B cold calling, and LinkedIn outreach services under one unified narrative. The broader market is already moving this way. Some reports indicate 68% of B2B firms use some form of sales outsourcing to scale more efficiently. Our advice is to make the choice measurable. Pick the model that reaches quality meetings faster at the lowest true cost, and keep refining until the engine is predictable. Whether you ultimately hire SDRs, lean on an SDR agency, or blend both, the winning teams treat lead generation like a managed system, not a staffing guess.